It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Stacey's back from CES. We'll get a rundown. She said it was actually pretty interesting. She found some cool stuff, including some digital kettlebells at 10 times the cost. Jeff Jarvis is going to get very upset, I have a feeling, about an article in Wired about a 10 years later meme. And we'll talk about a bunch of stuff from Google, too, the Google Changelog. It's all coming up next. We got a big show for you on Twig.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twig.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 491, recorded Wednesday, January 16th, 2019. A Faust without a devil. This Week in Google is brought to you by the Oura Ring, O-U-R-A, the most accurate sleep and activity tracker ever. Visit auraring.com and use the code TWIT for $50 off your purchase. And by WordPress. Turn your dreams into reality and launch your website at wordpress.com. Get 15% off any new plan at wordpress.com/twig. It's time for Twig This Week in Google, the show that talks about anything but Google, pretty much. Joining us, Jeff Jarvis from the City University of New York, budgemachine.com. Wake up, Jeff. Wake up.
And before the show, you see, people think they miss things before the show. No. You missed incredible boredom. Homophones versus what?
Heterographs
and pencils and fig pens.
Very fig. We thought we'd get it all out of the way.
Just too much.
Last week, it was the old. Apparently, Stacey tells us it was the old fart episode last week because she wasn't here, and we ended up talking about all of that on the show. We got it out of the way this time, ahead of time. Stacey Higginbotham is back. How was CES, Stacey, from Stacey on IoT?
Oh, it was lovely. I don't believe I just said that. Wow. It was like a tea party.
Lovely. I've never heard it called lovely.
The Queen and I got together.
Stacey thinks she's Mary Poppins of the tech world.
That's actually not a bad descriptor of me, I feel.
You kind of are.
Actually, now that I say it, yes, it does kind of work.
I'm generally cheerful, but I am stern if I need to be.
She's practically perfect in every way.
Every way, yes. Okay, so CES
Wired
was
Mary Poppins.
Boring. I did not have I go and I'm a little different because I'm super nerdy. I go looking in like the chip booths and the weird, like I talk to people about product design, looking for like better ways to use battery life or maybe like flexible electronics. So I don't go looking for televisions or laptops or anything like that. And I do go looking for smart home stuff. And I didn't find anything new. I didn't find anything deeply like game changing or disruptive. And that made me kind of sad. I did see last year, I got very excited about a MEMS sensor that Bosch had built that allowed you to project something onto a counter and you could actually interact with it. And I saw that in person. They turned it into a projector product and it was super cool. I think I tweeted out or we put it on our Instagram account of it was dividing up cake slices for me. And it would do things like if you stuck like a piece of meat in front of it or food, it would identify it.
So
and then
you like push the cake under its camera and then it projects the slice where you should slice it?
Yeah. And then you can run a little slide. It has a slider on the bottom and you run the slider and it goes like more slices.
Oh, that's so clever.
If you
I don't
go
think
to
I really
my
need
Twitter,
it, but
if you go to my Twitter account, you can.
What?
Well, no.
What?
So
you
this
need
is,
AI slices?
No. Calm yourself, my friend. So what this does is this is just a new way to interact with something. And what they're showing off is when you can project information down and then also interact with it, it opens up a new user interface, just like voice, right? So let's see. If you go to my Twitter account, and I bet it's under meeting.
Through it. This was day 2, I think, yes?
Yeah, but you should be able, if you just go to my media.
Looking at your Twitter account, it looked like there was a lot. There it is. That's cool. Looks like there was a lot of cool stuff, actually. This is nice. So what does this
How
have to do with
expensive
MEMS?
is that?
And how expensive is it?
So the MEMS is the light that is projecting down. It's a new way. The
MEMS is electromechanical machines. They're very, very, very tiny. They're not nano, but they're tiny mechanical machines. There's MEMS in our June ovens in the feet to weigh the
MEMS are.
contents of
I
the
always
oven.
tell people that MEMS are a way to translate the analog world to digital. So they're basically, you take a silicon wafer and then you put something that's going to measure analog something.
Your
like sound.
accelerometer is a MEM in your phone.
Yeah, and then it talks to the rest of your electronics. So that's what a MEMS is. So, but what they did is it's just a new type of projector that when you you can change the focal distance and it responds automatically, and then it also can measure when something disturbs the light field, and that is a cue to interact with it.
And
So-
to be honest, I don't think this is really destined for the kitchen. I could see this in a lot of industrial applications, though.
I could see it in the kitchen. So
Really?
the cake example is fun, but think about something like if I put a steak on there, or better yet, like a fish, and I said, hey, G, how do I debone this fish?
Right.
And then it can it can show instructions.
Onto the fish, yeah.
Yeah, or my screen that I'm using to like work my recipe, I don't want that to get dirty with my fingerprints. So I can just tap the counter, which sometimes is easier when I'm dealing with like a recipe than, maybe.
Stacey, how long does it take to get deprogrammed after a CES visit?
People who come back from CES are often a little like
Yeah.
No, I was excited about this last year. So seeing it in real, like they turned it into an actual product. That was a big deal. This is one of the few things I'm super excited about. For the most part, I was really disappointed we didn't see a lot of awesome integrations in the smart home. So
that's been an annual disappointment for at least 2 decades. Okay.
right. We did
Right.
see a lot of Wi-Fi smart home devices. So instead of Zigbee or Z-Wave, so we're looking at going hubless, and Amazon and Google are definitely in everything. There are a lot more health products that I think of them as digital snake oil for the most part, but some of them were actually really neat. Yeah, we were talking about this on Twit, but there were some devices that, what was the bladder device that was happening? There was this device that measured how it used
Father Robert
ultrasonic.
was wearing it during Twit on Sunday, and at one point we dosed him. What's it called, Karsten?
The D-Free.
The D-Free. It's a little ultrasonic patch you put on your belly, and then on your smartphone it tells you how full your bladder is. Towards the end of the show, we got tired of waiting, so we gave him a couple of liters of water, and man, it went to 10, and he ran. I said, you got to go? He said, yeah. And ran out of here. It works. It's not, we all know if we have to pee, but it's for people who don't. There are many people who, for a variety of reasons, can't sense that. And that can be really a source of social embarrassment and discomfort. And so this is, I think, a really cool example. That's an example of miniaturization of existing technologies and the
smartphone.
Taking advantage of the fact we're all carrying supercomputers in our pockets.
Well, and there were some diagnostic things, and I feel like we need more peer-reviewed articles like analyzing algorithms, right? And they probably should come to market a little faster. The research should proceed a little faster, because I saw a lot of things that are like, hey, we can personalize this algorithm to like help stop your headaches or help you eat less or, prevent jet lag. And they all sounded really fascinating and like it might be possible, but they also kind of sounded like, again, digital snake oil. So I really was like, so I saw a lot of that, but I would like to see a change in how we review that kind of stuff.
Well,
I don't know.
It is a bit of a carnival, right? And the good reporters like you who know what they're doing can contextualize what they're seeing, throw out the trash, of which, there's the majority of the stuff is trash, and find some interesting things. It sounds like you did that.
I tried. I didn't walk away with any super interesting things. So I was a little, I feel
like that every year. It's a little,
Hey, Stacey, you keep up on, but you're ahead of CES.
Right. That is true.
Right. So you know what's happening before. By the time it arrives at CES, you know about it.
Well, but sometimes I see things that I don't know about, and that's what I go for.
Yeah,
everything
of course.
I don't
Everybody
know
wants to go to CES and be surprised. Yeah, I think that's a very good point, Jeff. You go to CES to expect to be surprised, but if you've been following tech, it's going to be the manifestation of stuff you've been reading about for some time.
And it's a memory of a time. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and there was lots of 5G stuff that wasn't 5G stuff. And
yeah. What do you think of that? AT&T putting the E on the end of 5G and saying on all of their phones that are really connected to LTE, you've got 5GE.
They did that. So as a veteran AT&T watcher, they did that actually with HSPA Plus.
I remember that.
And LTE. So they called HSPA Plus, which is like technically 3.5G, and they called it LTE or 4G. Yeah. They called it 4G, not LTE.
Right.
So this does not surprise me. And the world does not come to an end.
No.
It's just marketing.
Well, I tell you why I don't like it for two reasons. One, there are a lot of people who think they have 5G phones and say, well, this isn't that great, which is what happened with HSPA Plus. And two, it's lying, which whether it's fraud. It's fraud. So it's fraud with a negative impact. I guess, welcome to the United States of America, boys and girls.
Well, you could complain to the FDA, except they're shut down.
FTC, FCC, they're all.
Oh, not FDA. Sorry. Yes, FTC.
Well, you can complain to all of them. Nobody will answer.
They're not there.
We had somebody in from the EPA on Tuesday yesterday who was on furlough, and I said, I'm just really sorry. He says, well, we're all right. I guess he has savings. He's a reference librarian for the EPA, and I said, I just feel, and I would extend that to anybody who watches our shows who's on furlough or working and not getting paid. I
looked up the salary of a TSA agent is something like $17 an hour. There's no way they can have savings at that rate. Have a family and work to protect us. Yeah. It does. It really does. And they're in there working. It's just criminal.
So say thank you when you're traveling.
Oh, I think that's a really good idea. Did you?
People are. What I'm hearing is people are doing that. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for working and keeping us safe, even though, in most cases they get paid later. We should point out.
Yeah, but they may not be able to pay their mortgage
right.
or their
you can't tell your landlord I'll pay you when I get paid.
Insulin or their child care because they have to have two jobs because they pay is so crappy. There's no empathy here for them. No respect for them.
It's just tough. It's really tough. Well, it sounds like you came away. How many do you go to CES? Have you been going a lot?
I've been to the last 5 years, but before that, I avoided it because I was again deeply nerdy tech, and that's not where CES is.
There is deeply nerdy tech in the basement.
Sorry, there is in Eureka Park. Although you have to what is it? Filter
trek
through a lot of chaff.
Yeah.
So. Oh, speaking of chaff, I spent a lot of time with a giant combine. That was fun. Oh. And talked to John Deere about their new AI.
I love this.
Camera stuff.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that was fun.
That is a combine harvester. So it's designed. What was it designed for? Corn?
You can actually. So it's designed just for harvesting. You can do soybeans.
Multi-tech.
Yeah, because you don't. Yeah, you just. But they can actually now tweak like the algorithm. So you download the software or the algorithms for the crop that you are cutting, and it optimizes for that. And what happens is they have a camera kind of on facing the back, and they've got an AI that detects like too much debris coming in. And what it does is when it sees too much debris in your grains or soybeans, it automatically starts changing like the filters and the sieves and the shaking and everything else to get it cleaner. And beforehand, the farmer used to have to look behind them and kind of just see what the grain was looking like. And then they would, manually adjust all that. So it's actually really neat.
I have to say, of all the coverage of CES, I enjoyed yours the most because you did seek out and find stuff that, it's not everybody else is talking about stuff. So this is good. You did a good job.
No folding televisions.
Yeah, but You know, that's not to me. That's not that exciting, especially since they showed it last year.
Yeah, well.
So how sore are your feet, Stacey? What are your Stacey tricks for doing CES?
You know, I bring Epsom salts, or actually this year I didn't go bring them. I brought you bring a little bit of peppermint oil, and then you put it in. You buy some Epsom salts when you get there, and at night you just soak your feet in the tub with the Epsom salts and peppermint oil, and you feel amazing.
Is there anything peppermint oil can't do? I love peppermint oil.
You can use it to stop ants. We discovered that when we had little bugs in our.
And it makes your house smell minty fresh.
Like Christmas.
Did you? All right. So there was reportedly, again, Jeff and I weren't there, but reportedly a battle between the voice assistants, Amazon's Echo, Google's Assistant. Can you declare a winner?
Oh, we talked about this too. So apologies if you heard me say this before, but my opinion is the same. Google spent a lot. They were the up and comer. So they needed to convince people they were awesome. And
did you ride the Google ride?
Kevin did. I did not. I actually did a podcast interview under the Google ride, which I cannot use because it was so loud.
Jeff, just for your edification, Google made a virtual reality version of the Assistant ride. Oh. So
it's a small Google after
So,
all.
Stacey, you said that there's a theme to it. You're trying to do something?
Oh, yes. You're trying to get a cake for Grandma's birthday.
Okay. So you're riding these little cars, and there is that goofy music. And it really does look like it's a very Disney ride. And this is where? Was this in the parking lot?
So the Google booth was in the parking lot, right next to the BMW booth or the NXP booth. So right out in front of LV, Las Vegas Convention Center, and it was pretty sizable. And this was kind of on top of
Disneyland. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
And what is this?
If it were not a Disneyland, Google would make it. Imagine Google today.
Google's surveillance Disneyland.
Oh, geez.
We know what ride you want to go on next.
Disney has some excellent technology, actually.
Oh, yeah.
FastPass is amazing.
Yeah.
Is it FastPass or their little ID card things? Carnival actually just put that on their cruises about a year and a half ago. And I don't know if anyone in the chat room or anyone listening has taken a Carnival cruise, but that is actually something I want to investigate further because it's
just take a cruise. Don't worry about the technology.
Is that how you get your drinks?
We were on Anthem of the Seas a couple of years ago. They had a lot of this. It was a brand new boat and had a lot of this. You download an app for the ship. It tells you what you're doing and you use it to get into stuff. And
this one has a wrist bracelet, and when you walk by things, it personalizes screens for you.
Oh my God.
It also lets you, you can tap a button or something on it and it will call a server to you, and that's how you can order drinks and that sort of thing.
You need to, because there's 5,000 people on that boat, and if you don't wear the wristband, nobody's going to talk to you. All right. Sometimes I'm thinking I'm turning into a Luddite, Jeff.
Yes.
Yes.
You have.
Yes. So one of the battles was the battle of the numbers, because right before CES, Amazon announced that they had 100 million Echo devices, and then Google just kind of said, well, we got 1 billion. And of course, because of all the Android phones, they're always going to be ahead in that regard.
But the Google experience is not great. My pro tip for everyone trying to deal with Google, and maybe it's just me. I turned off the voice recognition. I've turned off all the
you were really
that
was not working for you.
No, and it's still
you were
even
complaining
today.
about that. I saw that.
Yeah.
Because I love it in the bathroom. Love it. Oh, we should talk about bathroom tech. Yeah. So I was trying to call my husband while I was putting on my makeup for the show. It's multitasking, and it was just like, I cannot have access to your contacts until you validate your voice. And I'm like, argh.
Yeah. Good. What I thought was maybe even a bigger story at CES was finally some of the barriers coming down. Google apps are coming to Bixby. Samsung made deals with Apple as well. Apple's going to have iTunes and Samsung TVs as well as Sony and other TVs. So some of the Google Assistant will be coming to Samsung TVs. Some of the, the walls are breaking down, which is interesting. I'm not sure if that's co-opetition at this point, that it's still too small a market for anybody to worry about it. And
there was a lot of talk about money changing. Somebody mentioned that Apple paid to get iTunes on certain TVs, which I thought was really interesting. And then Samsung, it makes sense because Bixby is nowhere.
No. I think both Samsung and Microsoft have kind of given up on their voice assistants.
I think Cortana could have a place in the enterprise, especially if Microsoft figures out the kind of problems that Google's having right now with basically it's an admin rights issue. It's an admin and identification issue. So if you could do that, and it would be helpful. There was a company actually right before CES. It's called Pindrop. They got a lot of money funding, and they're an older company. They did voice identification in the financial industry and for call centers. But they're not pivoting, but they're opening a new market for voice. And so for all of voice control, having reliable and good voice identification could be awesome. So look for them.
I'm going to show you a little connected device that is a new sponsor on the show, and that is this ring that you've probably seen me wearing for the last few months. It's called an Oura ring. Oura is a brand new sponsor on the network. We had them on the new screensavers. Preet came by to show us what they were up to. I first found out about Oura from Kevin Rose, who is an advisor to Oura. He arranged for Preet to send me one of these rings, and I've been wearing it, I think it must be 6 months now. The Oura ring is the most accurate sleep and activity tracker because it's on your finger. It can sense my heart rate, of course. It tells me heart rate variability, which is a very interesting statistic. You want your heart rate variability, that's the amount of time in between beats, to be high, not low. So when you're doing well, it will give you an actual number saying, hey, you're 89 today, go get them. Or you're 62 today, based on heart rate variability, sleep, all activity, all the things that happened yesterday. Take it a little bit easy. It is really fantastic. It gives you insight into what's going on with your sleep, with your motion. It's got an infrared optical pulse measurement system with a 3D accelerometer, gyroscope, and body temperature sensor, all in this little ring. You get insights into
this is so cool.
And the thing is, I don't want to wear a watch to bed. It's just a nice looking ring. They have a variety of, they have titanium. It's made of titanium. It has a diamond hard carbon coating. So I wear this everywhere. Hot tub, bathtub, shower, swimming. I don't ever have to take it off.
How does it charge?
It has a little charger, but you only have to charge it once a week. What I do is when I take a shower, I'll pop it on for a few minutes. I've never had an issue with charging at all. So it's got a little thing. I'll show you. It has a little base that you put it on. The base looks like this, and that's plugged into USB, and then the ring goes on that. And it connects and syncs using Bluetooth LE. And by the way, I want to point this out. This is a Finnish company. They are GDPR compliant. Read their privacy policy. They understand that health data is very personal, and they are really good about protecting your personal data. So read the privacy policy. I think you'll be gratified. Part of that is because they're in Finland. They have to, right? Let's see. This is the one I have. This is, oh, that's nice. It's titanium. It's got the sensors on the inside. Let me show you, Karsten. Let me show everybody where the sensors are. They're right in here. You might say, oh, well, that looks
ball bearing.
Yeah, and it's very comfortable, and it can store data for up to 6 weeks. So once every 6 weeks, you pair to the phone. It's actually so quick and easy. There's the phone interface I pair it every day because I want to know how my sleep was last night. It is never 92. I wish it were, but it's very helpful because it gives me insights. For instance, it says, on days you exercise, you get an average of 30 minutes more deep sleep, things like that, which is very interesting. The Oura app is free for iOS and Android. It's updated regularly, as is the Ring. It gets firmware updates. And by the way, it works if you have an iPhone. It works with Apple's Health app, so it will import workouts from Health. So that's very nice. Although you can also indicate workouts, in the app. The daily feedback really helps you better understand everything that's going on with your body, your health, your sleep, and to reach your goals. Now, Oura is O-U-R-A. O-U-R-A. The number of the insights is very deep on the app. Track your sleep, in a way that nothing else can do because of it's on your body. It's got the temperature. It's got the heart rate. It's got motion. Make the most of your day. Ouraring.com. They'll send you a free sizer so you can pick the size that fits you the best. Now, I have this is all good news. The bad news is, since they were on Twit a couple of months ago, they're crazy sold out. They're cranking them out as fast as they can. You'll need to order now if you want to get your ring by April. Okay? We are, though, because of that, going to give you $50 off at checkout if you use the offer code TWIT. $2.99 for silver or black, $3.99 for stealth. Lisa wants the diamond.
What is
how
diamond?
much money? It's the most expensive, of course.
It's $1,000.
Yeah.
She's holding out for the diamond.
By the way, looking at the picture, I think you're right. The shiny black now takes my heart.
Here's the silver one, too. Let me show you this shiny chromish silver one.
Oh,
They're
nice.
very pretty. And by the way, like I said, I've been wearing it for 6 months. Get it wet. I never take it off. It wears beautifully. It's titanium. It's very light. Weighs nothing. So you won't mind wearing it. And I tell you what, the insights you get, you've never seen anything like this. I wear an Apple Watch. I have a variety of sleep trackers and other devices. You'll never see anything like this. This is the best because it's right on your body, and so it gets.
I haven't had gadget envy for quite a while. This one.
I'm glad you like it.
This is good. Yeah, it's good.
Let me check, and I think we'll get one sent out. We'll get one sent out to you and Stacey. That way you can try it.
Well, I wasn't fishing, but
I would like to send you one. Yeah, Oura.ring.com. The offer code TWIT will get you $50 off. But a reminder, you're ordering now for delivery in April. It took me a few months to get mine too, and it was worth it though. And these last, I was really impressed because I beat the heck out of this thing. I mean, I never take it off, so it's getting banged around. Hot tub, shower, bath. You don't have to. Swimming.
Regular hand washing.
Oh, I wash my hands like incessantly.
I'm teasing.
No, it's true. I get soap.
I don't want to hear about the hot tub, but
yeah, it works in the hot tub too. Wow, Google shifted $23 billion to a tax haven in Bermuda in 2017. So this offshore, it's not illegal, but remember that they were trying to get the money repatriated. The new tax act last year was supposedly going to bring a lot of this money back. Guess not. This is another one of those Dutch sandwiches sent it from a Dutch shell company to Bermuda in 2017. It reduces, of course, its foreign tax bill. Google says we pay all of the taxes due and comply with the tax laws in every country we operate in around the world.
As a Google shareholder, they are following their fiduciary responsibility to me.
Yes.
To minimize tax, maximize profit.
Okay, here's the point.
If you don't like it, and you shouldn't.
You shouldn't change the law. You got to change the law. You got to write to Congress. But the point is, to me, you're free riding on a society. The roads, the infrastructure. It's Google is tremendously profitable, as is Apple and Facebook. You also need to do your share, not merely inventing new products, but do your share in your tax burden. I do. We do. We don't have the resources to have
but you don't want them.
Dutch sandwich.
Here's the problem with this argument. You do not want a company deciding how much tax it should pay.
No. The law needs to be changed.
The government needs to do it. So I agree they should be taxed more, but that is the government's job. I had a Guardian debate with a UK MP about this, where she's complaining about it, and I said, "Madam, it's your job."
Yeah, change the rules.
And if it's either legislation or also diplomacy, if you don't like what the double Dutch sandwich is, go complain to the Dutch.
Yep. And the U.S., because they're a U.S. company.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew you'd like this one, and I'm curious what you think about it. We talked about it yesterday. Google is working with WordPress, one of our sponsors, WordPress.com, to do a new news publishing platform.
This is pretty cool. Newspack, which has backing from Google and others. I forget who else is in on this, but Google gave some money to it to create. The funny thing about the news industry and CMSs, I don't know if I told the story on the show before, but when I was at the Chicago Tribune, I'm going to date myself terribly, Stacey. I don't want to know how far away from birth you were, in the early 70s. Every newspaper thought they were special, and they had to have their own CMS and their own functionality. And the CMS we had at the Chicago Tribune was so terrible, they assigned their Pulitzer Prize-winning task force of investigative journalists to investigate their CMS. And that's been the history in our industry from the beginning. We think we're special. All we do is make paragraphs. They're paragraphs. You can make them. So now WordPress, which is what? Like 30% of the entire web, every page on the web?
33%, according to their last ad.
They're creating something that is targeted toward news. And I argued years ago that Google should have done this. They should have brought all their tools. You know, this is when they bought Blogger and all those things. They could have done it years ago, but they were gun shy about this. So instead, they're supporting WordPress. WordPress is a great company, and they're going to bring a product that's going to work for news sites. And there is a charge. I think it's like $1,000 a month. It's not much, but it's not free.
Well, but what they're also doing
get a good CMS.
Is they're inviting people to participate kind of in a scholarship process. So the other groups are the Lenfest Institute for Journalism, the Knight Foundation. You should have remembered that, Jeff.
Yes, I should have. At the Tau Knight Center.
Oh, it's not. Well, it's John S. and James L. Knight. That's the same?
It's the same Knight.
Yep.
Same Knight, yes.
And Civil Media, each giving $1 million, Google giving $1.2 million. And so Newspack is basically a version of WordPress tailored to low-cost publishing, the needs of small newsrooms. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, because you have, for big newsrooms now, the Washington Post CMS is taking off. Advance is using it. The Globe and Mail is using it.
Have you used it?
That's the big end. I've not used that. I don't know how, but people love it, and it has a lot of the smarts and ability that Bezos has brought to the Post. So that's happening at the big end. The little guys need help. And so this is great. I'm delighted that all the parties are doing this.
So it's newspack.blog. You can apply if you'd like. There's an application form due February 1st for basically a scholarship. The effort will be funded by automatic through the development period. After that, operating fees of $1,000 a month to $2,000 a month will be applied to participating sites. So you get to go through January 2020 to the.
So Stacey, would you do this?
I don't know. I have a WordPress blog. I'm not producing news. So
it's more for a newsroom, I would guess, than.
Yeah. And I've already streamlined my process because I used to hate, like, you know, every reporter who deals with internet stuff now, like, you write your paragraphs, as Jeff so cutely calls it. You have your headline. You're also responsible for getting your art, which used to not be the case. You have to write the caption under your art. Then you have to write your tags, any optimization, SEO optimization that you're supposed to be doing. And then there's usually some other form of optimization that is special to your particular site or newsroom. And I mean, to get up a news article can take, I mean, to fill in all those things, even if you're like really amazeballs at writing quickly, like an earnings story or something. I mean, it was a pain, man.
Yeah. At GigaOM, you used WordPress, didn't you? What was GigaOM?
Yeah.
Yeah.
GigaOM was WordPress. Fortune was WordPress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Major newspapers have used WordPress and movable type. At Advance, we were on movable type at the end. Yeah, it is a pain. You know, I now when I post anything, I post it on my WordPress blog, but I also post it on Medium. I also post it on LinkedIn.
So we should explain CMS. Somebody in the chat room saying, "What's that?" Oh. It's a content management system. And so blogging platforms are essentially content management systems. You type in a web window and press publish, and it will go to your blog. Of course, if you're a newsroom or you have a lot of reporters, that gets more complicated. You know, you have, as Stacey said, lots of
a copy flow,
things to
fill
in.
It.
Yeah, it has to go to people.
We would write ours at Fortune, because at GigaOM, our copy flow was pretty much like you post it on Slack and you're like, help me edit, please. But
that's a good flow. I like it.
We used Trello, actually, as our copy flow, which was really weird, but, you know, effective.
I just want to say that you just mentioned 3 Twit sponsors.
I'm sorry.
Which is great. No, it's great. Trello is Atlassian now. They bought Trello.
Yes.
Slack is a sponsor. WordPress.com is a sponsor. I think there was one more in there. But it just shows you that these tools are really the great tools to use for all this stuff. But
they're the favorite tools of a dying industry. I'm not sure.
I'm going to add that to all the ads. The favorite tools of a dying industry. Well,
I was thinking about your sponsors, Leo. I don't want to go off.
We have
here.
good sponsors, don't we?
You do, and I was thinking about your position in being the early step in for direct response.
Got a lot of startups like Oura.
A lot of those, right? So mattresses, razors, all the stuff, right?
I think Oura were the first advertising they've done. Helm, which is the mail server that's going to be coming on, will be the first advertising they've done. I love
so
that.
You're early in on this, and so I was watching TV, and there was a one. I hope it's not a sponsor, because I'm about to make fun of them a little bit.
Well, by the way, let me just say. That is part of our ethos also.
If I do make fun, it's
that there's editorial and there's sponsorship. We pick sponsors we love, but we never let a sponsors influence our content.
No, I've been here when you criticize products and things. Yes. So there was a new effort that would send you furnace filters. Like, this is such a horrible pain in the butt. Once every 2 years, you go to Home Depot and you buy a few furnace filters, right? So there's people in the commercial saying, oh, "It's wonderful."
No, that is not one of our sponsors.
Yeah, it's just great. As opposed to testimonials, and I'm thinking, man, everything on earth, everything is going to be sent to you and in some monthly subscription.
Well, that's actually true. And half of our sponsors, we just got Butcher Box, which sends you meat by mail. Half of our sponsors are about that, about making it so that you don't have to go out and acquire things.
Right, and you're the testing field for this. There's also, we ought to get you after Alexis Ohanian, because he's an investor in, what's the one that sends out the little blue pills to men?
Oh, Get Roman.
Roman.
That's one of our sponsors as well.
Okay, right. So Roman is solving ED and baldness and something else.
I debated whether we should do Roman because it's kind of an adult topic, but I think this is actually a really good thing.
We have problems too, we men.
It's a really good thing. I have no problem doing those ads because
if we want to talk about erectile dysfunction, why would we not show off, ads for maybe menstrual cups or something like that?
I would do
Obviously,
that.
Twit is not a place for that. A lot of companies have a problem with showing a real depiction of. Look at what happened actually with sex tech at CES.
Well, we talked about that last week. Yes.
Yeah. So
I was kind of hoping I wouldn't. We did.
We talked about how the vibrator got their prize got revoked,
which is unfortunate.
And it was their contention. There's plenty of sexuality at CES as long as it's for men, it's okay. But as soon as it's female sexuality, oh no, we can't do that.
It has to be about health.
I agree, and the truth is we're not going to get those ads more because we have a predominantly male audience.
Ooh, I know.
Do you know that? I'm not sure why. I want to know why you know that, but okay. But I would not object to that. You know what we don't do is e-cigs. We've been approached quite a few times by e-cigarette.
I'm shocked that Sirius is advertising Juul. I'm shocked. I think it's awful.
I actually don't think it's awful, but I think it's awful to advertise to kids.
That's the problem. You don't know who's listening.
My daughter, we had this conversation because my daughter smokes cigarettes.
Oh.
Which I know it's so sad because when she was young, she hated cigarette smoking so much. We actually had to fire a babysitter because she saw her walking down the street. Not because she smoked while she was babysitting, but she saw her smoking once. And she said, well, she can't ever come back. And then she studied in high school in France for a year.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was all over. And she hates it. She wants to get off of it, and she's gonna. But in the interim, I said, "Well, please, Juul, that's better." But you know what?
You reduce the damage.
It's better. Yeah. But the problem is, there's such a resounding, condemnation of Juul because it starts people smoking in high school.
That's the issue.
That she said, "Oh well, I don't trust Juul. It's not as safe as cigarettes." I said, "It's safer than cigarettes." Everybody says, the CDC. Everybody says. Don't start smoking, but if you already smoke cigarettes, it would be better to vape.
Down. Yeah.
Yes.
And I had to really convince her of that. It was very hard. So I want to be clear that Juul isn't a bad thing if you're a cigarette smoker trying to cut down.
Right. And I've been there. But anyway, I find it fascinating that we thought that the internet was going to be about direct response, buy it now. And you had all these publishers trying to convince advertisers, no, it's really about branding, and it never really worked. But then
everybody wants brand advertising because
everybody wants that because it's higher smoke and value.
Right.
But what happened is that all of these companies now on TV are direct response. They start off with you, and then Away Luggage is advertising every 30 seconds on TV, which was a guest of mine on our podcast.
That does drive me crazy because Away we helped Away become big enough. And unfortunately, there's this mentality that you start on podcasts, but once you're big enough, you get off of podcasts, which, by the way, work better than any television ad, and you spend all your money on TV.
Wildly expensive on TV. Wildly expensive.
You know, it happened with Squarespace, who we took from 0 to 60. I mean, when they started advertising with us, they were on every. They probably still are on every podcast in the world, but we were the first, and we really, I mean, we really did well for them. And as soon as they made enough money, they started buying Super Bowl ads, and it's like, dude, one Super Bowl ad, 5 years of Twit, which is going to produce more results,
right?
But you can't convince them
because it's a different audience. Sorry,
actually,
it's true. But I'm honestly, what are you in business to do?
People want to make websites?
What are you in business to do? Sign up people or get a better audience? It's really about
this notion of scale. This notion that you have to be big. I was with a whole bunch of publishers today and folks around digital, and this idea that you have to get everything to mass and everything to scale. No, you can do 10 times 100,000. Is that 1 million?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So you can do 10 things at 100,000, or you can do 1 at 1 million. The result is the same. If you know what you're doing, you can be more focused at the 10, 100,000s. You can be more efficient. You can do a lot of things. You can know your data better. But there's this prejudice to get to mass.
Honestly, I don't know why everybody just doesn't buy Facebook and Google and go home. Don't tell Lisa I said that.
Yeah, I know. But
those have to be the most efficient ad buys in the world.
Well, when we looked at those political ads on the Stacey, when you were gone last week, we looked at the Facebook tool for the political ad archive, and it's every buy is $100 to $1,000, and they're buying 20 ABs, but they're tiny buys with huge efficiency.
Yeah, no, we actually use Facebook advertising to promote the IoT podcast occasionally. And
so do we.
It's super. Yeah.
We do Twitter ads too.
I was like, thanks for promoting my show, Leo.
Just for you. We only buy IoT, Stacey on IoT.
Excellent.
But there is another reason. I would just, before we end this conversation, so I can go home tonight and not be sleeping on the couch. The reason you buy Twit, for instance, is because it's somebody you trust talking about a product. That's a very different kind of ad than a Facebook or Google ad. And I would submit is very important. It's like word of mouth, and that is much more effective. It may not be more efficient in the sense that you reach the target audience more efficiently, but I think they're much more effective. Now, the
truth is you give both direct response and branding at once because of that trust angle.
Absolutely.
The Leo rub-off.
Some of our advertisers, though, have not turned out so well, and I'm going to mention two. I'm sad to say Bosch's curry robot never happened. Yeah, but they refunded every penny, so I don't feel too bad about that.
That's too bad.
Yeah, and then we talked on Sunday, but we can mention it here again about Ring. And I still have my Ring doorbell. I love Ring, and I was very happy to advertise them. I thought Jamie Siminoff was a great guy. He's the founder of Ring. But they've recently come under some severe scrutiny. The original story came from The Information. So I'm going to give, I don't want to give Sam Biddle the time of day, but I'll give The Information credit they're the ones who really discovered it. Sam, as usual, just rewriting their stuff. But I think, what do you think of that? We talked to Stacey already about it, but I'm going to give Jeff a chance to talk about what. So the point was that Ring, Jamie in 2016 opened a Ukraine office, and when they went out there to visit, according to The Information's story, the Ukrainians, one of the initiatives was we need to improve our recognition, our face recognition, our object recognition. The Ukrainians said, okay, but you got to give us access to the data so that we can, build in some of this machine learning. And unfortunately, They did. Jamie, left, and by the way, Ring has denied that Jamie was the one who said it, but the story said that. And then as he walked out the door, they were given access to that Amazon S3 bucket with all the videos. On the spot, Mr. Siminoff agreed to arrange for the team to get administrative access to Ring's web-based interface where customer videos could be streamed, according to multiple people either present or briefed about the meeting. That resulted in a real issue because those videos were now available to be shared, to be viewed without customer permission by these Ukrainian employees. And, of course, now some of this story, and somebody in the comments said, if this had been a British company, would you have had the same problems? Because of it's Ukraine, there's some concern about the security. The security vulnerability was one of several problems with Ring's Ukraine office. The engineers hired for the team often had little experience, hindering the development of AI-powered doorbells. They got the database of all the video history. Now, a year later, Ring was acquired by Amazon, and as best we can tell, maybe Stacey, you're covering the story too, Amazon has stopped this practice. I'm not sure.
Yes, and I would also caution. So I know, Jeff, you're about to talk. I'm sorry.
No, I asked you, Stacey.
I want to hear more information. Okay. Yes. No.
So Amazon has changed that. I think this might be an issue of, hey, you ask and you get. It's like a startup. We don't have processes in place for this, right? So I don't think it was necessarily nefarious. I do think it was probably careless.
I do. I have respect for Jamie, and I think Jamie is really smart. He's a great founder, and I don't think that he did this in any way maliciously or with any goal of, kind of breaking security. They just weren't thinking. They had no process. A spokesperson for Ring told the information customer videos are encrypted today, but didn't respond to questions about when Ring began encrypting the video. So these were unencrypted videos, shareable videos out of an S3 bucket. Now, for me, it's not a big deal. It was a doorbell. I don't care if anybody looks at my front door. But there are indoor cameras. Ring makes those stick-up cams that you could put inside. So,
yeah, I think you've already said it. I think it was careless. I think that especially when you're a small company, you can't afford to have that executive who's in charge of policing these things, but you need that person.
That's a good
at the
point.
higher level, but it's true at the higher level too. I mean, when I wrote my post about Facebook 2 weeks ago, I've long said they needed a journalist, and then I made fun of journalists. So maybe it's not a journalist, but they need someone at a high level in that company who has the authority to make change, who can make them and keep them honest. And these companies all need that. I don't think that their motive is bad at the get-go, but carelessness leads people into presumptions of panic.
I would say I think tech has gotten a pass on this because they've been too nerdy for so long, right? If you think about like your typical tech thing, the idea of moving fast and breaking things is one aspect of it, but another aspect is just like tech historically was tech, right? It wasn't for everyone else, but that has not been true for like the last 2 decades.
But we still have that mindset, though. You're right.
But we still have this mindset of it's okay. And I think, like, if I'm starting a company outside of the tech world, like let's say I'm starting just an escrow company or, a medical billing company. These are actually things that people start all the time. There are a long list of regulations and things that you would never think to ignore. You would actually design your company around protection of data, meeting these regulations. And tech has been given a pass, and I think it's probably time to stop because the type of data they're getting a hold of and using is, I don't know if their quote unquote innovations really make up for the fact that they have access to so much information.
I think the pass is over. I think, Stacey, I think the pass is well over, don't you?
This year, or 2018 for sure.
Yeah.
Everything changed. Well, it started 2018, 2019 maybe. And, books like that surveillance capitalism book, what was the book before that? Saul, we interviewed him. But the Gang of Four, this stuff is changing. This really stuff is, people are starting to really look hard on this. I think they should. They need to.
And they should. I mean, I know, Jeff, that you will talk about techno panic. I don't think it's panic to say there is a lot of information about individuals that is now collectively available for massive data mining in a way that we've never had before. And then also say that the implications of that data getting into the wrong hands or being used in ways that we haven't even discovered yet are going to cause a lot of harm to people. There's the possibility of them causing good, but it's unclear yet if the good will outweigh the harms, and we're not even talking about it.
Zuboff's great on that. She says,
I think we're talking about it, Stacey. I think we're talking about it every day.
Well, we do on this show, for sure.
Yeah, I think
that's what this show has become about.
It's well in the agenda of the public conversation.
So there's nothing wrong with that. That's what we're talking about.
No, there's not.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, yeah. So
and Zuboff is very clear to say, she's not castigating technology at all.
I love technology.
Yeah,
I think it can do amazing things.
Don't conflate that. But what she says, and this is the thing, and I'm still thinking about whether this, she said, at first the trade-off was you give them information, you get targeted ads. We all knew that. We can kind of live with that. But then it was starting to predict behavior. And she said, her concern is a future where it is used to influence behavior. And that, what we're moving into is this kind of basically surrendering sovereignty to this entity, the big other, not big brother, big other, she calls it. And I think that that's not unfair. I think that that's very much a possibility, and certainly something we don't want, and something we should pay attention to. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's something we need to pay attention to. Here's an example, and I bet you have different takes on this.
Oh, I was going to use this as my number, and I was going to use this one. I was going to put it up here. Oh, yeah, I got something to say about this one. Oh,
that woman's thinking is exactly how I think about everything.
Read Surveillance Capitalism, Stacey. It's a great book, 625 pages, but read it, and then we'll debate it. And you haven't read it yet.
Can we talk about that story?
Let's do the 10-year meme. So this is the Facebook 10-year challenge.
This is complete and utter bull. It is moral panic. Great example.
Oh, yeah.
Great example.
If you use social
moral panic or techno panic?
I'm going to give you some moral panic. I'm going to give you some facts.
Let me give you the story first. Kate O'Neill writing in Wired. If you use social media, you've probably noticed a trend across Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter of people posting their then and now profile pictures, mostly from 10 years ago and this year. She said, I put out a flippant tweet. Me 10 years ago probably would have played along with the profile picture aging meme going around. Me now ponders how all this data could be mined to train facial recognition algorithms on age progression and age recognition. I agree with her. That's exactly what this is all about. You disagree, Jeff?
So yes, we went through this today. So number one, this is absurd. Because 2 years ago, Google showed that they can compare the same person in photos from infancy to current. It's been done. Number two, this would be a really crappy data set. Facebook also has data of people who are identified from ages to ages. This is pure paranoia. So I went in and I had a conversation with her and her editor Nick Thompson on Twitter, and I said those things, and I said this is kind of ridiculous. Nick came back and said, so then the response was, well, Facebook is doing this for money. Well,
Facebook, by the way, says we didn't come up with this.
They didn't do this. Right?
Yeah.
And so this is moral panic. This is an example of the kind of paranoia that is now bred. A simple little thing comes up. People have pictures from 10 years. This is cute. This is fine, right? A few years ago, we all would have joined in and said, fine. So now there's this presumption of some horrible motive and some horrible conspiracy. It's a conspiracy theorizing. It is moral panic that's trying to blame everything and find a noxious motive for everything that anyone sees on technology. And this is the danger, my friends. The danger is that this kind of crap, this kind of fake news will lead to regulation of the internet for us all.
Holy cow, you could not be more wrong.
I had a fit. Well, Stacey, the story is just wrong. The story is just wrong on every count. Wrong.
Her thinking on this topic is what I am identifying with, not the entire story. But I would say this is actually a positive. This is where we want to get people when they are about to use technology to ask themselves, is it worth the exchange of data that I'm about? What is going to come of this? I think that is actually
so fine.
So
what's the harm
smart.
that's going to come of this? Tell me the harm. Tell me the harm.
hold on. It is like teaching people about interest rates, which have a purpose, but also can cause people harm. I'm not saying usury. I'm just saying interest rates associated with credit cards, right? Now, the other part of this is she's not saying it's evil or there's harm. She's just wondering if it's going to be, used for image progression. And Google has shown that they can do this. Facebook might need that data. Another company that puts these out might need that data. And this sort of data has been collected in the past through fun, cutesy apps and used for exactly that purpose. So it has a basis in fact to wonder about it. So
her boss, who I like a lot, Nick Thompson, I'm trying to find the tweet right now. This is what got me going.
Okay, what? Yeah, because you are really upset.
I was very upset about this because it is dangerous, and I want to read his tweet. And again, I have immense respect for Nick. He's an excellent editor. Wired, Wired's been just great. And he came back, and there was an exchange, and he came back and said what I said was fair. Now I'm trying to find it because I've been tweeting too much today. Like,
of course, this is relatively benign, but I don't think it's a bad thing to alert people to the fact that this kind of data is something these companies want, and you should be aware that you might be giving them this kind of information.
Yeah,
people are not aware. I just want to give you one more data point, which is a study that just came out from the Pew Research Center. 3/4 of Facebook users, 74%, in their survey, did not know the social networking behemoth, according to TechCrunch, maintains a list of their interests and traits to target with ads. 74% of the Facebook users.
Do they know that the New York Times does that, and Wired does that, and Time Inc. does that?
If they don't think Facebook does it, they certainly don't think anybody else does it.
Yeah.
So
and
they don't know
they only discovered this when researchers directed them to view their Facebook ad preferences page. A majority, 51%, said they were uncomfortable with Facebook compiling the information. 27% said the ad preference listing Facebook had generated wasn't accurate. 88% of polled users had some material generated for them on the ad preferences page. So the big number, the takeaway, is 3/4 of the Facebook users surveyed, and I think is probably accurate. Pew's very good on these. 3/4 didn't even know that Facebook targets them with ads based on what they give Facebook, the information.
We go back to I found the tweet.
So Nick
Thompson again.
Hold on a second. In regard to this, it's I think of value to say, hey, this 10-year progression thing, here's the kind of thing companies might want to do with that.
So Nick Thompson, again, Wired editor, respect him immensely. I think he's great, right? His tweet said this. Let's say you wanted to train a facial recognition algorithm on aging. What would you do? Maybe start a meme like 10-year challenge, period. That is fake news. That is misleading. That is lying. So I come back and I say, utterly unnecessary. Google Photos 2 years ago demonstrated that it already tracks people back to infancy by their images. Facebook has a better repository of people tagged over time. There need not be a nefarious motive to everything social you see. Somebody else came in and said, well, that's not really what the article says. And I came back and I said, yeah, but his tweet said this, and I wanted a contrary tweet. Nick came back and said, fair. And Facebook has now responded that they didn't start. Also, they could add, as the article states, that it's not entirely clear that having better face recognition aging AI does anyone harm.
Okay,
but we
in
had
the
to go
story,
through this exchange to get there.
No, you didn't. Because if you read to the second paragraph of the story, she says, my intent wasn't to claim that the meme is inherently dangerous.
But what happened when her own editor tweeted this, Stacey? And we know people don't click and they don't read up.
However,
it defines moral panic, because this is trying to panic people about something that isn't true.
Jeff, you're wrong. You're wrong, because we've seen Microsoft do this with that aging thing. This is the kind of data companies do want. They have actively pursued. Google did it, as you said. And just because it happened once doesn't mean other companies aren't attempting it, and there isn't the need for a larger data set. We know Google does this all the time. This would be the
Google crappiest data set you could imagine.
No, it would not.
No tech in half their brain would use this.
Okay, the point isn't that the point of this article isn't that it's happening this way. The point of the article is that people should ask these questions.
Yeah, Jeff,
and
you're missing the forest for the trees. You're focusing on the precise data that she's talking about. But really, the larger
because it's
point
trying to get people panicky and concerned about something that is not worthy of
it's trying to get people
aware
that giving their data away in exchange.
Aware of a fun little game that a few years ago everybody was saying.
It isn't a fun little game. That's like saying,
yes, it is.
those.
Yes, it is. That's the point. This is just a fun little game.
Gathering. So companies
That's what the reporting says.
Games.
It's just a fun little game.
It's like a few years ago, which Game of Thrones character quiz on Facebook. What? That's just a fun little game. What could possibly go wrong? Which Game of Thrones character are you, or which Simpsons character are you? There's no harm to doing that. We know now there is. Jeff?
Yes, that was the basis of the Cambridge Analytica.
We know now there is.
This does a speculative, paranoid what if that didn't exist.
This is wrong.
Jeff,
well, we don't know. First of all, you don't know that. You don't know that.
I think
you don't know what the company.
Facebook is not going to lie to Nick Thompson.
Wait, whoa! Facebook's not going to what?
To Nick Thompson, the editor.
Facebook's not going to lie?
Lie to Nick Thompson, the editor of
Have you
Wired.
not been paying attention? Facebook lies all the time.
Jeff, it feels like your concern is making you see this as something you're like just too sensitive to this. This is like when someone
to protecting free speech on the internet. Yeah, I am.
Well, I think that's overblown too. I don't think that.
No, that's my point. This is overblown. This is panicking everybody. I'll stand here on this technology show to defend the internet against this kind of moral panic and idiocy.
All right.
Oh man. Okay.
Well, I say, oh man, back, Stacey.
All right.
Yep. This just scared the hell out of me and disgusted me.
That doesn't scare me.
I'm trying to write a post right now. There's a brilliant academic I know, and I'm trying to be delicate in this pile of papers that I'm reading right now, academic papers, who's trying to argue basically against the First Amendment because too much speech is a bad thing. Now, when you go into research, you look at things like Rasmus Kleist-Nielsen at Oxford is very good at saying, give the evidence, people. There's this presumption that everybody thinks we're in filter bubbles, right? Ever since the book was written, we're all in filter bubbles. The research is not showing that. I've been going through tons of research here that talks about the evidence of where we really are. And so I'm going to be demanding that if you're going to do a story like this that is purely speculative, at least be right about the facts.
Well, what about this Pew? What about this Pew statistic? 74%.
Well, I saw that today, and I want to look up the methodology in questioning. How many surveys do we have that 90% of people don't know we're on
963
Earth?
Facebook users aged 18 and older.
I want to look at the question and the form of the question. So what is that? Pew.
My experience with Pew's research has been that it's pretty good, but
pretty good. But I've had problems. I have had specific issues. Research. Well, sure, because it's the James Carey, my hero, in these matters, who says that democracy is conversation. He says the ruin of democracy is the public opinion survey because it cuts off the conversation that it is meant to inform. It starts with the bias and the agenda of the question.
Does it seem impossible, though, that 3/4 of Facebook users aren't really aware of what Facebook is doing?
I would put the same question. Are they aware of what media is really doing? Why should they be aware of how advertising structures work? Right?
Well, Facebook has a very different presence in their lives and much more influence than
You're not giving the New York Times anywhere near the kind of information you're giving Facebook. So what if the New York Times is trying to give you they do it by your zip code. They're not doing it by everything.
I'll point you to Yochai. Wait, Stacey, what Stacey just said. I'll point you to Yochai Benkler's brilliant new book about this, where he has data that shows the influence of Fox News being greater for where we are right now than that of Facebook. That's a presumption that everybody's making.
Facebook is not the New York Times.
Well, it's
conflating
also
two things.
It's not either or.
I mean, sorry, Fox News is not the New York Times.
I think Facebook and Fox News both could be a problem, right?
And no one would.
Does Benkler say that's not a problem?
I think Fox News is a horrible problem.
Does Benkler say that
suggesting
Facebook
that we regulate the speech on a news channel?
No, no one is. Well, maybe they are. I don't know. That would be a mistake.
You had Congress just yesterday. Wait. You had Congress just yesterday. Let me just back to Leo's point. Sorry, Stacey. There's one point. Congress just yesterday, various people going against the platforms for the supposed anti-right-wing bias they have and how they ought to be censored by government. That is against the First Amendment.
Yes, I agree 100%.
And by God, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to defend the First Amendment and speech against that kind of talk. And that kind of talk comes out of panic.
I want to talk about your slippery slope here, because I see that you've got one, and I understand why you're leaning so hard on this. But walk me down that slope. How does this lead to the end of free speech?
So we end up in a world of regulation, and we see the beginnings of it in Europe. So you have, for example, the right to be forgotten, which as a journalist and an academic of sorts, I'm kind of a fake academic, I find utterly offensive. To rewrite history, to erase history. Europe, of all places, should recognize the danger of that. And ironically, in an effort to take power away from Google, it only gave Google more power. The law that's too long for even me to pronounce in German, that's the anti-hate speech law, that has led to the hiring of 30,000 people at Facebook to deal with this. They get 24 hours to make a judgment. What happens is that satire is killed because anybody who's sitting there on a low-paying job going through this crap, if you have the slightest doubt as to whether or not this is bad, kill it. And that's what's happening right now in Germany, a country that I would hope would care about free speech and understand the value of that.
Surely you're not. Being absolute. But surely you're not being absolutist on this, saying because of these clearly misguided, misdirected laws, there should be no.
Did I say there should be no regulation?
No.
I didn't say there should be no regulation. We already have number one, we already have laws for most of all the things that we matter. These are special laws because technology is especially scary. No, this is about human behavior where no matter where it occurs, and we have laws that regulate.
It's the other way around, Jeff. I'll give you an example. It's the Honest Ads Act. It's the other way around. Technology's been given a pass in many cases, as you well know. Mainstream media has to reveal who bought a political ad on television and radio. Facebook does not. And any attempt to get Facebook to reveal that has been thwarted, including the Honest Ads Act.
They're doing that now, and they're backing the Honest Ads Act. They didn't at first, the law. They are now.
Well, and thank goodness that people put their feet to the fire. So it isn't the case that technology is being
I think that the Honest Ads
persecuted. It's the opposite. In many cases, it's the opposite. Amazon didn't have to pay any sales tax for years.
Well, again, who do you blame for that? You blame legislators.
No, I'm just pointing out, you're acting as if, we're all coming down on technology because it's special. I think you could just as well make the case that technology has gotten a pass because it's special.
And I agreed with Stacey in many ways it has, and I also said that this is well part of the public discussion, but I want it to be evidence-based. I heartily recommend Yochai Beckler's book to get a sense of how we ended up here.
That a maybe article is not evidence. It's a maybe article, and that's probably
what bothered me so much about this, because it is in an atmosphere of people being panicked about this, and it used a non-event to stir up more speculative, paranoid panic about this, and that's irresponsible. So be evidence-based, especially from a journalistic organization. And again, I like Wired. When I say Wired is excellent. Good point. Nick is an excellent editor. He's done superb work. This is a specific criticism, but this was off today, and I was highly disappointed in his tweet and in Wired.
I think Stacey would agree too, right? I mean, this is about in that case, it's about journalistic standards. Articles shouldn't be based on that kind of flimsy conjecture.
It's about ethics in gaming. Sorry,
Don't start there, baby. We're gonna have that. We're gonna have some real problems here.
You think you have problems now? You just wait.
I think the editorial or these kind of speculative articles are a time-honored journalistic tradition. I think they followed all the rules. They don't assess that it's fact.
They were very clear
They were very clear in the first lead. And I know you took issue with his tweet. People do take issue with tweets.
That's the problem with tweets.
It's not just tweets. People take issue with headlines.
There's no nuance in tweets or headlines. Yeah,
but
we can't presume anymore. This is actually an ethical thing. We should not presume anymore that people click and read the article.
No, that's true too.
The entry has to be complete enough and correct enough in and of itself. The AP gets in huge trouble for this.
So that is a very different issue.
I've actually had this problem with Wired in the past, that maybe this should have been an opinion piece and labeled as such.
Even then,
No, if it's an opinion piece.
It's based on a presumption of something that turns out to be false.
Well, as often opinion pieces are.
She says it.
Oh, it is. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Wired opinion. It is an opinion piece.
All of speech is opinion.
Never mind.
This is journalism.
Well, it's not. But it's not reportage. It's an opinion piece.
Based on a wrong presumption.
No,
it
is.
False presumption.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
It is not. She's not saying that it's a correct presumption. She's saying it is her presumption.
It's almost a what if.
It could happen.
But it's a what if. But that's appropriate.
It could hit us.
I'll grant you, Stacey, that is a long-standing journalistic tradition in opinion pieces, and
this
is part of the reason
no one trusts us.
This is not a news story.
Which is part of the reason that no one trusts us, which is what I battle against out of a journalism school.
Well, maybe Wired, like the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, it needs a separate op-ed section so that you know what you're reading. That is a big problem nowadays, by the way. You can't tell. All articles
even then
disassociated.
There's still standards in an opinion section.
Well, you can ask a what if question in opinion.
This is not. I don't find this as egregious as you, Jeff. In fact, I find your passion about this absolutely baffling.
Yeah.
But
I find your disagreement baffling.
No, I'm just kind of like, wow.
This is a hot button for Jeff, obviously.
I stopped the car today. I stopped the car, and I read that tweet at a stoplight in horrible traffic. When I got someplace where I could stop, I stopped. I read the article. I read the tweet again, and I stopped right there to the point of responding to this. I was so upset about it.
Maybe you should. Well, no. Okay. Let's talk about something else, because if you want to talk about my hot button issues.
What's your hot button issue, Stacey?
I need my Oura ring to see what happened to my pulse in the last 20 minutes.
Your watch says you're dead.
Did you see the Verizon Remind story? It's in Ars Technica. Someone had emailed me about it being a tweeted me about it being a net neutrality violation. And what this is basically a failure to regulate not the tech industry, but the carriers. And it's a fascinating story, and it's a fascinating policy issue.
Is this the Verizon angers teachers story?
Yes, it is Verizon.
I haven't seen it. No, Verizon charges new spam fee for texts sent from teachers to students. Is this in the wake of the FCC's ruling that text messages?
It is.
Are what do they call they publishing? Not publishing. I can't remember.
They are not. They are an information service as opposed to something that should be governed by. They are like
which gives the carriers like Verizon the right to do this. In other words,
right. It basically gives them. And I would argue.
Why did the FCC rule that? Just a little background first.
Oh, it's Ajit Pai.
Why did the FCC rule that? What was the rationale?
Two words. Ajit Pai.
Right.
Because the carriers wanted it.
Leo, thought was going to be okay, but I'm not going to rub it in.
You're gonna really be upset when I say that what really happened, which is that Ajit Pai felt that ostensibly the idea was we can cut spam if we let carriers decide what's spam and text messages, give them the power to cut spam. But the thinking really is that they would like to, and they have in the past, censor political speech that is not amenable to certain groups,
like the Narol. I can't say it.
Yeah, that was what happened. Was I can't remember which carrier banned.
It was Verizon.
Verizon. Oh, it was Verizon again. Banned text messages from the Right to Life organization. Right, that's Narol, right? National.
Yeah. No. It's the Right to Life.
Right to choice.
Right to choice.
Narol is choice. This is such an old debate now, right? But it's coming back. So they blocked pro-abortion messages.
So this is the political
get the double
reason
negative
for it.
There straight. No, they blocked pro-abortion messages.
I believe that's what happened.
Right.
Narol is a choice organization. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. So sorry, Stacey. Thank you. I just want to get the background first. Now, spleen.
So Remind is a free texting service used by teachers, students, and parents, but there's a dispute over the fees Verizon demanded for the company that operates the service. As a result, teachers have been expressing their displeasure with Verizon. Remind, the company that offers the service, criticized Verizon for charging a new fee. its services, text message notifications will stop working on Verizon unless Verizon changes course. Verizon says the fee must be charged to fund spam blocking services.
Are we all being charged this fee?
Just
Who's
remind.
being charged this fee?
No. Just remind. So it's basically Twilio who is sending out these messages is being charged.
Oh, the carriers hate Twilio.
Yes.
Right?
Now, here's the deal. The political reason is you should be able to not push messages you don't think are right, whatever. The economic message, which is the real message here, the real rationale for this, is they can double dip. So I pay for text messaging. These companies already, like Twilio already pays to send text messages.
To get on the Verizon network, they're paying already.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now Verizon can charge more people. They can charge them again.
So Remind has a free plan, but it also has a paid plan. So it's a typical business where it's a freemium business. Twilio does have to pay to get access to the Verizon network, but they're hoping they'll make that recoup that money. Remind's costs right now for sending messages to Verizon customers are a few $100,000 a year. It will go to several $1 million a year after this change.
So there isn't really a problem with the teachers' messages. They're just caught in this vice of this fight.
Yes, they're a wonderful test case for this, because who does? And Verizon they say, hey, we will work with individual schools. We just don't want to work with this company, and them are still negotiating. Basically.
And actually, technically, it's Verizon's charging Twilio.
Yes.
Extra.
And Twilio, but now Twilio isn't passing. They are just passing that fee along to Remind.
Right.
They are
Why
not
do they
charging
hate Twilio?
anything extra.
It does send spam or not?
No, Twilio.
They hate Twilio because Twilio basically offers an easier and more developer-friendly way to get telecommunication services, because the carriers never did.
I see. Apart from text. Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
Twilio is basically a communications API. So if I wanted to send broadcast messages to our listeners, we're about to begin Twig, I would use a service like Twilio to do that.
Yeah, and to be clear, Twilio has been used by spam. And actually, when I talk to people in D.C. in the lobbying industry, or lobbyists and politicians in D.C., they actually think Twilio is spam because
that's too bad.
Only the the carriers have the lobbying power. So they come in and they talk about how they don't hear from everybody else.
Twilio's great. In my opinion, Twilio is a high-tech solution to something that the carriers never wanted people to use. They want to make their SMS money. And this is a good solution.
Yeah. So this is a frustrating story this is where regulation, the fact that we have taken a hands-off approach here, this is how the other side takes advantage of that. And there's always going to be someone taking advantage of regulation.
And do you think Twilio, I don't know this, but do you think Twilio has done a bad job of blocking spam on their network?
Well, Twilio, anybody can pay to send a gajillion messages over Twilio, right? Twilio does not have, to my knowledge, they do not.
They don't even look.
Are legit, Remind, I'm sure, has people opt in. It sounds like they have people opt in want this via email or text. So there are plenty of good Twilio customers, but Twilio is a service. And I'm sure people are using Twilio for all sorts of terrible things.
So here's an update. Twilio says now that it's switching to a new Verizon service designed specifically for commercial long code messaging, and that Verizon's adding a termination surcharge of 0.0025 cents per mobile terminated SMS message. So they're charging per message a small amount, but that adds up when you send millions of messages. All providers, not just Twilio, are impacted equally by this fee that Verizon is instituting. Twilio has made the decision to pass along the fee without any markup, but it believes a similar fee may be imposed for terminating long code traffic. Terminating doesn't mean ending in this case, but using, basically, long code traffic on the networks.
Yeah. Twilio says Verizon says Twilio sends more than 4.5 billion texts a year on the Verizon network.
Somebody do the math. 0.0025 times 4.5 billion. That's a lot of money. That's millions. Isn't it?
So that's per year.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not doing that math.
What do they think? What do the carriers think about Apple and Google enabling?
Oh, they hate them. They hate all of these companies.
Well, right. And one of the reasons people use Twilio is because it's not just SMS. You could use messages or WhatsApp or voice and other things.
It's got APIs. It's easily
Twilio's awesome, I thought.
Programmable. Yeah. I mean, it's everything the carriers aren't. It's everything the carriers not wanted to be. It's like the carriers, I always look at them and I'm like, they're the antithesis of the way tech has grown up. So tech has always grown up with like, we make something easier and cheaper, people will use more of it and people will buy more of it.
Carriers say, let's make it harder and more expensive.
Yeah. I don't, it baffles me. It really, truly does. And they do have actual constraints, but they
baffled.
Also,
this is the interface.
You and the carriers, Jeff.
This has always been the fight of the old incumbents against the upstart internet.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, look at Intel with their processors. Intel paid and funded companies to use their silicon so they would actually be able to produce more of it and buy. I mean, they started the entire compute revolution with things like Moore's Law and trying to produce things more cheaply so people would buy more of it. It's just a different economic model. And the carriers have they're starting to adopt it with the iPhone. That forced them to do a lot to change how they think about things, but they haven't, not everybody's gone yet, right? Not all the old carrier dudes have retired. But I mean, things like software-defined networking were they had the potential to be such a benefit to carriers, but they didn't adopt it for almost a decade. And the idea that they could actually produce telecommunications for like lower the cost per bit, they weren't interested in that. That wasn't what they saw themselves as doing. Whereas someone like Google or Facebook, you're like, that's your cost of goods sold, right? And you want to get that as low as possible. And they're like optimizing like heck for that. The carriers never thought that way. They just think about maximizing their revenue per user.
Like Apple.
Yeah, kind of maybe.
I've
never done a study. I've never done a study of Apple from that perspective.
The new Apple. It's time for, get the trumpets ready, prepare the drums, the Google Changelog.
The Google Changelog.
RCS comes to Google Fi. Fits right into this conversation. Rich communication services. This is something the carriers have been slow to adopt. Google's been pushing hard because Apple Messages can do so much more than SMS. So they really want everybody to use RCS. I like RCS because I like Apple Messages. It is now available on Fi and compatible phones designed for Fi and compatible Android iPhones if you're using Google Fi. So Google's crazy messaging strategy. I changed my messaging from Hangouts on my Pixel to Android Messages. Boy. Because, and then in order to get it on an iPhone, I now have to use a web page to get my.
How do I know I can use?
You can use it. You can.
So what am I doing to use it?
Well, you're switching to messages basically.
I've long been on messages.
Then you've got it. It's automatic.
But how do I know that? I feel like I have a magic power.
You can do cool things
nobody told me about.
You can do things like embed links from maps, and or drop a pin, that kind of thing. You can. Share high-res videos, not downgraded videos.
Ooh, related? My husband asked me, are you at the doctor right now? And Google automatically threw up, hey, do you want to share your location? Isn't that great?
See? You can get, you'll get suggested responses, which are very good because Google's watching you every step of the way.
Google knows where you are.
Every minute. Read receipts.
I put it into maps.
Typing indicators. The features that have been in every other messenger platform forever finally come to text messaging. So, when somebody's typing, you'll see the ... that they're working on a message. Things like that. Messaging over Wi-Fi, which is, very nice. Here's another one you're going to like, Jeff. When you travel with Google Fi, they're upgrading the speed in 33 countries to 4G LTE.
Jeff's happy.
Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, Denmark, most of Europe, basically. Europe and Kazakhstan. And Israel. And Monaco.
Kazakhstan.
Is it in Europe? I guess it is. What is Europe these days? Who knows? Israel is not. So Israel is the only one.
The UK is not in
Hong
Europe.
Kong.
That's another story.
Hong Kong. Kuwait is also not.
Kuwait. So there you go. Latvia, Lithuania, and Luxembourg, the big L's. It's that's kind of nice for people who travel. That will be a very nice addition to. So I will use Google Fi for that reason alone, really. Japan.
It is my international phone.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm abroad, I use it.
Yep.
And I'm constantly tempted to go ahead and switch over, but I keep on wanting to just irritate AT&T by keeping my grandfathered unlimited plan.
I know, just to bug them.
Just to bug them. I'm sure they sit up there and say, that Jarvis!
That's a lot of work, by the way, to keep that 2007 unlimited data plan that you got way back when with the iPhone. That's
that
a lot
much of
work.
an a-hole. Yeah, it is. I probably hurt myself. I probably spend more, get less.
Most people have given that up a long time ago. Oh, hello. Your corgi can hear Jeff. He's shouting so loud. Or is the UPS guy there? Oh, Stacey's going to
No, it's my family coming home.
Oh, good.
Hold on.
Pick up where you left off on search. There will be new activity cards when you do Google that will show you previous searches so that you can pick up your related activity. Only you can see these. So you can pick up where you left off.
This is going to freak people.
Well, that's why they say only you can see these. So if you search for eating clean, it will then pull up all the clean eating stuff that you did earlier, links to pages you visited in the past, searches you've done, and then you can click back. That's nice because I often want to research something, like, what was that? What was that? And so it'll be nice to get that in there. You can control, there's a 3-dot icon in the knowledge card. You can control what appears in your activity card by deleting an item, by pressing it, or turning off cards by tapping the 3-dot icon. Rolled out today on the mobile web and the Google app in English in the U.S. And when I say today, I mean 4 days ago, 5 days ago, a long time ago. But since we've met last. The Google.org Fellowship. Are you familiar with this?
No, I'm not. I think I do. Which one is this? They're doing a lot of these kinds of things.
Yeah. It's a fellowship to the next fellowship started today with Goodwill Industries. A team of 7 Google.org fellows, including software engineers and data scientists, will work in community-based Goodwill organizations across the U.S.
They're Google employees who do a fellowship helping
who go off and help nonprofits. Yeah.
Just as folks help the government after the Obamacare.
Exactly. Like what was it? It was not Code for
Digital
America.
Service?
That's right. The Digital Service.
Matt Cutts.
Where Matt Cutts is?
Acting managing director.
Jeff, did we ever give your Facebook disclosure? I just realized we argued a lot about
thank you. I forgot. Yes. So at the Newmark Graduate School of Journalism, I raised funds for the school from Facebook as well as others. I am independent of Facebook. I receive no money personally from Facebook or any platforms. Thank you, Stacey, for reminding me.
No problem. I believe you that you are not. I believe that this is a deeply held passion.
Yeah, I saw somebody in the chat room. When you want to disagree with somebody, who's paying Jarvis?
I just want everybody to know if Mark Zuckerberg wants to write me a really big check, I'll say anything he wants.
Well, I was in a session today, and there was a couple organizations that just got some of the Facebook money, which we'll may or may not talk about for journalism. And I thought, good, I'm not the only one with cooties in the room. Yay!
I just decided I've been in this business long enough now. I'm ready to sell out.
Really?
I've held the line.
Just looking for a buyer.
I'm ready. Well, I'm 62. I'm going to retire. I always thought this. I thought, well, I'm going to have integrity right up to the very end, and then I'm just going to go crazy.
That's right.
Isn't it like the Weekly World News or the National Enquirer? They would pay journalists like incredible salaries because basically you were ruined after you worked there?
Yeah. There was a guy who left the Chicago Tribune when I was there many, many years ago, and he was secretive of where he was quitting. He was going. We didn't know where. And then we found out he went to the National Enquirer, and we sat Shiva for him.
Yeah, that's
he was dead
because there's no other job. Although Sam Biddle managed to work for years at Gawker, sliming people like me, and now finds good work at The Intercept. So it just shows there's a double standard in tech. No,
this guy who went for the Tribune, he to get into Bing Crosby's funeral, he dressed up as a priest.
It's cosplay. He's in the Miracle for 34th Avenue or whatever that was. Yeah. I'm doing Crosby cosplay. It's a tribute. It's an homage. No, I just figured it's time.
Thank you for reminding me, Stacey.
Time to get the big bucks. Yeah. Unfortunately,
nobody wants to buy
Nobody
Leo's
wants
soul.
to buy me.
You're Faust
Leo.
with no devil.
I'll give you my soul, please. Give me something, anything.
Hey, if there are any Russians listening, and I'm sure there are, what's Leo worth?
I'm not. That's the problem. Is I'm just not worth anything anymore. That's all. Here's some good news. Google Maps is starting to show speed trap warnings. Speed trap warnings.
Well, some people won't like that.
Police won't like that at all.
Oh.
Speed cameras specifically, rolling out to some users. The camera icons, see them? Little red camera icons?
Yes.
Appear along routes when planning your drive. So, well, let's see. I'd like to speed, so I'm going to turn right at Perry Commons and avoid that one, and then I'll...
Wait, is this in the UK?
UK, yeah.
Is this happening in the US?
Where else is there something named Handsworth Wood?
I mean, maybe this is like
Old
the middle
Oscott.
of New England.
I'm
just like...
Let's all drive to Handsworth Wood via Newton Road. Yeah, it's probably in the UK. It doesn't say. This is an Android Central story, and it's a tipster. So probably this is, just.
I mean, I'm all here for it. I'm just like, wait
I like
a second.
the idea.
Is this real for me? Because I would totally use it.
Is it illegal? I know it's illegal, or in some jurisdictions, to have a radar detector.
New Jersey outlawed finally the speed camera, the red light cameras, which were dangerous as hell.
Why was that?
Because people would be hyper cautious about it and stop when they normally would go.
You mean they wouldn't run red lights anymore? That's dangerous?
No. They would before the yellow. They would just.
Oh.
And then I got zapped once. The only time I ever got a ticket ever was from one of these damn things, and I called a lawyer, and he said, "It's not worth it, fella. It's $40. It's going to cost you a lot more."
They got a picture.
They don't really know you're in the car, so they're saying the car violated. In fact, the pictures proved I was right. I was innocent. I was not. Oh no, they were foolproof. He said, "I know you're right. Not worth it."
Wait a minute. They have a picture of you not running a red light?
Yes, and they sent me the thing. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good reason to get rid of them. I don't know if the reason that people are more cautious at intersections is a good reason. I think that's probably not a good reason.
No, because it was. This is Hudson County, New Jersey, where they have a different constitution that says people turning left have a right of way over all forms of life. They drive in special ways,
which is why you need red light cameras.
No, because it made them even crazier. You have two extremes. You have people who want to kill everything in their way if they're turning left. Then you have other people who ignore the law and decide they're going to stop and let someone turn or go, and they don't follow the law. So nobody knows what you're going to do.
Yeah, there's reason for rules. Just follow the rules.
Yes.
Follow the rules.
Laws, yes.
Don't be extra nice. Follow the rules.
Right.
Here is a sign that we are living in the future. The Play Store, Google Play Store, is planning to phase out 32-bit apps by 2021.
That's plenty of warning.
20. Even the fact that we're even talking about 2021 boggles my mind.
Are we going to get there? I'm not sure these days.
Yeah.
We'll have had another presidential election, in fact.
Oh my God.
Well, it could be quite different.
President Warren will be in charge. It'll be so exciting. I'm going to call her President Pocahontas. I think that is. Oh, did you want to talk about people getting money from Google, Facebook? I don't see that story in here.
No, I don't. Well, from Facebook, we're in the Google Changelog.
Oh, okay. You're right. It's a Facebook story.
The Google Changelog?
So let us, with a flourish, end the Google Changelog. Thank you very much.
I feel like a flourish is trumpets, and that's more drum.
Oh,
drum
no, I
sounds.
flourished my hand.
Timpanies.
Oh, okay.
I see.
It was a hand flourish.
Leo knows no flourish but his own.
The most liked Instagram post of all time.
I don't get this story at all.
Okay, you know what it really is that people don't like Kylie Jenner.
So
a guy created an Instagram account, World Record Egg, with only one post, an egg, saying, let's set a world record together and get the most liked post on Instagram, beating the current world record held by Kylie Jenner. She had 18 million likes. At last count, he has 46,348,847 likes
This is
for
like
an
that most
egg.
disliked video that Google did.
Yeah. This is the new black in the internet is throwing shade.
It's the new screw you. I like it.
The new screw you.
Oh, that's what we should have this week in the new screw you.
Okay, I want to do that show. That's a good show.
This is when people made Hank the Angry Drunken Dwarf of Howard Stern's show the most among people's most beautiful.
This week in Twinsky. Or Twinsy. Twinsy. Twinscy. Twinsy.
Oh, I was like TEERRICCCI.
Samsung has sent out invitations. I got one. I am not a pariah in the tech community. It's just Apple that hates me. They are going to have their big Samsung event in San Francisco in February 20th, a week before Mobile World Congress. They want to jump the gun on Mobile World Congress. It is thought they will announce the S10 and their new folding phone.
So what do we think of folding phones?
Well, I don't.
I'm here for it, man.
Are you? Because both Microsoft and Samsung are widely. Well, Samsung's announced it, but Microsoft also has. There's evidence that it's going to do a folding thing of some kind. Folding. I don't know.
Well, it's adapting its OS for folding phones.
Right. The latest Insider's version had some code implying there would be a folding something, not a phone, but something.
I'm all about new interfaces, new ways to interact with it. I mean, maybe it'll be a bust, but I'd like to see it. I'd like to try it. I think there are lots of useful ways to use it.
How about
and
this?
if not for a phone, then maybe something else. Okay, sorry.
How about this week in dumb lawyer letters? Bird Scooter decided they didn't like boing boing. Last month, Cory Doctorow writes, don't screw with Cory Doctorow, okay? I'm just saying.
Yeah, you do not. This is dumb. This is really, there should be a course in law school that says don't screw with Cory Doctorow.
Last month, he published a post discussing the fact that there were, mountains of abandoned scooters piling up in city impound lots and the rise of cheap Chinese conversion kits that lets you buy one of these scooters, swap out the motherboard, and make it your own without any Bird stuff on it. Bird sent him a cease-and-desist letter saying that's a violation of Section 1201 of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which prohibits the dissemination of circumvention tools. Maybe they didn't know that Cory Doctorow is one of the leading campaigners against Section 1201 in the world and has some friends over there at the Electronic Frontier Foundation. In response, Cory writes, Bird sent us a legal threat of such absurdity, we're publishing it in full along with a scorching response from the EFF as a kind of celebration of truly world-class legal foolishness. It's not a circumvention device, A, because you're replacing the board. You're not in any way hacking it. B, he's a journalist, and he's writing about people doing it, not telling you how to do it. And he's protected by something we call the U.S. Constitution. He has and C, you're actually sending a cease-and-desist letter to a guy who says, I've pledged myself to killing Section 1201. Literally, his new project, Apollo 1201. This is his life goal. You couldn't send it to, well, maybe it's a better person. A perfect example of what's wrong with 1201.
How old is 1201? When was it passed?
1998.
98.
With the DMCA. And it basically meant people couldn't bypass copy protection. You couldn't do any research. You couldn't do any analysis. You couldn't disseminate. And so it's a pretty big stretch to say that he was helping people bypass copy protection at all. One side effect you might have noticed of the government shutdown, beside the fact that President Trump's going to have to apparently mail in his State of the Union address.
It was suggested that he could do it on a Google Doc.
Make a Google tweet it. No. That's not modern enough. Tweet it. Tweet it.
Instagram story that stuff.
He should buy hamburgers for everybody in Congress and tweet it. The government, many of the government agencies that are shut down have websites whose certificates have expired, and as a result, either you can't go into the site, or worse, you can go in the site insecurely. Including this, by the way, is the Department of Justice. NASA.
So these are government agencies that didn't renew their own.
Well, there's no one there to renew them.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, Steve Gibson pointed out that next time there's going to be a shutdown, they could proactively renew them before the shutdown. Maybe.
Or say, you're not paying me, to heck with it.
I'm not going to do it. Get somebody else to do it. NASA, the Department of Justice, Court of Appeals. But it's important to note that if you, in some of these sites, they correctly shut them down. But in some of the sites, you can go in just insecurely. Maybe would be just a little reminder, a little public service warning. You probably shouldn't, because at that point you're insecure. And anything.
So I just went to NASA to see if it was up. It is indeed up. Big red box. If you're currently a NASA employee affected by the furlough, click here.
Huh. What are they going to do?
To ensure. Oh, wait a second. To ensure you're reviewing the latest version of this website, please clear your browser's cache by doing the following, blah, 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 blah.
Huh.
Use of government. I wonder what this is. Is this because of the certificate?
Who knows? No, it looks like it's HTTPS. They must have renewed theirs, because that looks like it's okay.
They're rocket scientists.
They're rocket scientists. Yeah, I would figure somebody go in on his day off and just say, "Hey, let me renew that."
Oh, but man, look at. I mean, well, this is fast. This is the FAQ for password expiration, FAQ for expiring badges.
Oh,
credit union and bank assistance during the shutdown, important government travel card information.
This just breaks my heart.
Oh my Lord! Seeking outside employment during a shutdown. This is just, yeah, you're right. It's heartbreaking. It really is.
Oh, FAQs on retirement during the current shutdown.
Man, oh man. How to request an activity be accepted, because these are scientists who want to do their work.
Right.
Well, as long as we're going to piss off the trumpeters, let's talk about Roku first approving and then banning Infowars. Yes, I didn't do this story yesterday.
Which of those decisions was a mistake?
Yeah, well, yesterday Roku added an Infowars channel to its channel guide, and I didn't do the story because I had a feeling that was not the end of it. And literally hours later, they said, they tweeted, after the Infowars channel became available, we heard from concerned parties and determined the channel should be removed from our platform. The concerned parties, by the way, included parents of Sandy Hook students who had been murdered. Of course, as you know, Alex Jones says that no one was ever murdered at Sandy Hook. Deletion from the channel store and platform has begun, says Roku, and will be completed shortly. This is,
I don't think he could really believe that. Do you think he really believes that?
You know, I always wondered this about some of these demagogues, is how much of it is good business and how much of it is pure belief.
I mean, it'd be better
if
he actually believed it.
He himself, in his divorce decree, said he's just an entertainer.
Yeah, which, I mean, because it's pretty reprehensible to lie about something that's so harmful to
it's horrific.
People. But,
I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
He said that, in fact, actually last week, the parents of the children who were murdered at Sandy Hook won a legal victory against him. A judge ruled that the families of victims must be granted access to financial records and other documents in part of the discovery process in an ongoing lawsuit against Infowars. That should be good reading.
So could we sue about Trump's repeated statements about crowds at his inauguration? There's no documented
I'm mad about the 1,000 hamburgers.
Oh, I don't worry.
There were only 300 hamburgers.
That picture was the most amazing.
By the way, the next day, members of Congress came to the White House and had steak.
Yeah. By the way, what's worse than a cold Big Mac?
Oh, God, nothing. In fact, we wouldn't even sell them. I used to work at McDonald's. There's a little, nowadays they have electronics, but in my day, when you put a rack of Big Macs up in there, you put a card on it that had the time, the minute that it was made, and 5 minutes after that, you throw them out because there's nothing worse. And I've had them; they're horrible. They congeal.
But now they're all made right in time, right?
Oh, you want them fresh. They're bad. I mean,
what was your job at McDonald's, Leo? Have we gone over this? What was your job at McDonald's?
It was my first job. I was in high school. I was 16. I started, as everyone does at McDonald's, selling the Orangeade at the counter, and grab a bucket and mop I learned how to work there. They said if you're standing still, wipe down the counter. You're always doing something, and you learned customer service was great. And then I worked my way up to shake the shake machine. And then from the shake machine to the fry machine, that's a challenge because there's hot oil there.
You could hurt yourself. And then I was very proud. By the end, I worked my way up to the grill, and I was closer, which meant that you had to stay till like midnight till McDonald's is closed, and then you have to clean everything. Oh, I remember from my Ponderosa days, the stainless steel polish you had to do.
And then on the grill, maybe many people don't know this, but here's a little handy tip. The old pickle juice is great for breaking down the grease on the grill. That was a proved process. I think that was in the manual.
Yeah, well, it's just vinegar.
Yeah, it's great. It's just slightly acidic.
Oh, science, Stacey. Oh, science.
I'm sorry. It's like people like the Taco Bell sauce that'll eat the rust off your pennies. I'm like, well, yeah, it's a light acid.
Don't drink a Coke.
No fun.
I was the kitchen manager at Ponderosa.
Wow.
Ponderosa Steakhouse. What were you?
Kitchen manager was made up. I was in charge of the busboys. And the Spud boys.
Clear that table.
I was a clerk at Randall's, or a checker.
Oh, it's
Randall's is a
it was a grocery store that was bought by Albertsons or Safeway or something.
I hope that those jobs exist still. I mean, I really worry about young kids because are there still good? I mean, are they still entry-level jobs out there? Working at McDonald's
they can't find them. They can't find it. Teenagers don't want to.
They don't want to do that. I'm going to be a web designer.
Yeah. Old people are doing it.
So old people do. So like, I mean, I have lots. I mean, and you can get paid more. Like our babysitters, we pay them like $15 or sometimes $20 an hour.
It's come home smelling like hamburgers when you can smell like.
And then there's lots of like
cake.
A lot of very entrepreneurial kids will do things like, hey, I'll teach parents Fortnite, or I'll rent myself out to coach kids in Minecraft.
That's a job.
That's a job that people in my neighborhood do.
Teaching parents.
So people
Fortnite?
on furlough could do.
Yeah.
What and Karsten, it sounds like you've taken lessons. Why would parents need to learn?
Well, there's two things you can rent yourself out as. You can rent yourself out as to train younger children to play Fortnite.
Oh.
Or parents who are worried about what their children are doing and want to
understand
and play with them so they can hear the chatter going on.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So you're educating the olds.
Are you moonlighting, Karsten?
No, I'm.
Zach doesn't let you play in his squad, does he?
Sometimes I play with him. Sometimes I don't.
Nice.
Usually I don't.
See, so these are legit jobs.
Who is the Fortniter at your house? Is it the younger?
It's the 14-year-old.
It's Alex.
No, that's Zach. Alex is 11.
I got it confused.
He's still a Minecrafter.
I am a Minecrafter. I love Minecraft. I can't stop playing. It's a great game. I come back to it all the time. It's a wonderful game.
I play it with Alex.
Yeah, you could build. Michael, our 16-year-old, and his other 16-year-old friends have asked me to start a flat world on the server for them so they can build a replica of Petaluma.
That's awesome.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. And by the way, they have the skills to do it. You should see what they build. It's amazing.
So I'm giving you my 15-minute warning.
Well, I'm giving you my last ad of the day, and you're going to give me the pick of the week. But first, a word from WordPress. WordPress. Love WordPress. We were just talking about WordPress. Matt Mullenweg started the company. I've been a WordPress.com user since 2012. I actually started even before then with a self-install WordPress on my own server. What I found was what many people find. You spend more time, Andy Anako just was saying this, he's running WordPress on his own server, getting the database right fixing mess ups than posting content. That's when I realized, wait a minute, I could be doing this at WordPress.com. Let them do all the technical stuff. Let them do the serving. It actually costs less than me buying my own server and doing all the work. I learned it, which is great. But if you don't want to become an HTML, CSS database guru, WordPress.com creates a stunning website. Very important that you own. It's your site. It's your content. It's nobody else's. If you're a business and you don't have a website, WordPress.com. If you're a teenager, don't let your other friends and their posts on social media sites become your person on the web, right? The search results, when you search for your name, if you get crappy videos your friends posted on Facebook, it's time to start a website. I tell every teenager, WordPress.com, there's a free tier. You can go there. It's free to start. You could try it, set up your site, and that way when people search for your name, they'll find your stuff, your best stuff. You're never stuck. You can upload video, audio. You don't have to put it on YouTube. Upload video. You upload audio. You upload pictures. You don't have to put them on Instagram. You can upload text. It's great for writing. Publish your ideas. And anytime you want it back, it's all yours. It's all your content. You can download it all. You can move it anywhere you want. You're never locked in. WordPress.com is built to grow with you, too, to get you where you want to be tomorrow. And if you ever have any questions, I love the customer support team. They're there 24 hours a day, including weekends, to answer any questions you have. It's such a powerful and flexible site. As we just heard, everybody uses WordPress. Quartz uses WordPress. Fortune uses WordPress. It's perfect for big companies and small. So many people use WordPress these days that it powers 33% of the internet. One-third of all the internet runs on WordPress. So should you. By the way, there's an advantage to that because it means there's real support out there for WordPress, not just from WordPress.com, but from third parties. Although I have to say the WordPress app is everything I could ever want on iPhone and Android. That's how I posted when I was on my trip. Go to WordPress.com/twig. You'll get 15% off any new plan purchase right now. Yep, WordPress.com/twig. 15% off when you start that new site. Don't put it off. And honestly, it could be a site about your Minecraft builds. It could be a site about your plumbing business. It could be anything you want. That's the beauty of the open web, and that's what WordPress is all about. WordPress.com/twig. Stacey's stomach, we have that little monitor on her is 30% empty.
No. Oh, actually, right now it's probably like closer to 60% empty, but yes.
So we better get her out of here with her pick of the week.
Excellent. So I talked about this. I think, Leo, you made fun of this, and
How come I am getting beat up for making fun of stuff today?
Well, you did. You made fun of it. So I saw this at CES, and I looked into it, and I am going to buy it because I think it's that amazing. It is called the Jack's Jocks. And this is because I lift weights, and I have done kettlebells for a while. I'm not currently a kettlebell user, whatever, but this is $349. It's an internet, or rather Bluetooth connected kettlebell set. So it's one kettlebell and you stick it on the base and then you add more weights to it. It's kind of like the Bowflex idea, the Bowflex,
it's an adjustable kettlebell. The only thing I made fun of was that the whole point of the kettlebell, I think they were invented in Russia, is it's the cheapest gear you can get. It's just a hunk of iron with a handle on it.
That is not true. And this is where I wanted to go with this. So if I wanted to buy a 20 kilogram, which is about a 44-pound kettlebell, if I go to like someplace like Dick's Sporting Goods, they're about $80 to $90. And you need, in a full set, depending on where you get it. Now, I'm sure I could go on Craigslist and find some non-connected ones, but a full set of like 6, like this ranges from 12 to 42 pounds. The weight increments, I would rather have 5 than 6, but that's just me. But that's about $300.
I'm going to promise you that this guy did not spend $300 on that kettlebell.
Okay, but that's not the kettlebells I can't get that kettlebell. If I go to a spot.
This is from like the turn of the century, the textbook of weightlifting by Arthur Saxon, 1 shilling strongest man in the world. And what is he doing? He's lifting a kettlebell. I do kettlebell workouts. I like kettlebells. I like them a lot.
The next best aspect of this is you get 6 weights in one, but the other thing is it's got the accelerometers and gyros so you can do the workout correctly.
Cool. Yeah.
Which seriously, you can really screw yourself up if you do a kettlebell.
The whole reason a kettlebell is different than a dumbbell is because the weight is outside your hand, so there's momentum, which means you swing it, which means you can really hurt yourself, not just by hitting yourself in the head.
Don't ever let me have one of those.
But you could torque your back, But on the other hand, if done right, they're really great for flexibility as well as strength.
So I am very excited about this, and well, I'm going to buy one and add it to my
anything you buy, I buy. So let me know when they're available.
They are available now. You can buy it now. It's $349.
Don't do it. I do kettlebell with my trainer, and he's constantly adjusting Yeah.
So maybe you should contact them for a review, and I'll check them out when I'll check out the safety policies
like the name.
on that.
Jack's Jocks.
Jack's Jocks. I think their videos are stupid as all get out. But that's just me.
The funny thing about that webpage, it really seems to be more about the model than the kettlebell, which is off in the corner. What are you selling?
Where's the kettlebell?
I thought at first I thought they were selling yoga pants. I didn't know.
Yeah, their marketing is not geared towards me.
Gadgets, best of CES. Sherilyn Lowe was on the show with us on Sunday, and she said best of CES. So there you go.
That's because Sherilyn knows what's up.
She knows what's up. And now, Mr. Jeff Jarvis.
So I just want on the record that actually I originally put the 10-year photo thing down here in the numbers because I was just going to make a passing reference to it. What a silly story it was.
I was the one.
And there it was. So I just want to know that I was not preparing a psycho fit.
No, you know what? I love it when you guys fight. That's awesome. No, that's the best.
You're what's wrong with America, Leo Laporte. You're what's wrong with media.
We went all Jerry Springer on you there. That was great.
Yeah. All right. So but I stole one back, which I actually love this story. I'm fascinated by it because I've been tracking from my days as a TV critic way down how over-the-air broadcast audience has been shrinking, right? Yeah. Well, over the last 8 years, over-the-air TV audience is up 48%.
Over the air. But that story is really more about cord cutting, right? That the fact that people are getting rid of their cable.
Nielsen says there are two groups. There are groups who cannot afford cable,
right? And
that's why we still have over the air and why it's still free TV. Unfortunately, the quality of what you get free on TV in America has gone down rapidly. Ironically, because the argument was when we had 3 networks, if we get more networks, look how bad TV is, it'll get worse. And abundance led to tremendous quality. But there was some kind of plateau we hit that then came down, partly because so much pay TV out there. So there are 16 million homes that have it. That's one. So one group is old people and others who can't afford. The other group is cord cutters who have a direct account with the likes of Netflix or such, and then get news and whatever over the air. What's interesting to me about this, though, is if it weren't for the, regulation that enables these odd things, that enables cable to be a monopoly in your market and to have the must-carry fees and on and on and on and on and on, I think that over the air would have gone down to virtually zero. But it's kind of artificially kept up because over the air has now become expensive because you have to get it in your cable package and you can only get it in a cable package. So when you cord cut from that, you can't get the TV anymore. So it's an artificial increase in over the air TV. That's my theory.
I missed all of that.
It's all, you're a cord cutter, right, Stacey?
I'm a cord cutter, but I don't have access to digital TV signals where I live. So I can't actually get over the air. So if I want over the air, I have to buy cable. So I've never been able to get it. So I'm not alone.
I thought you lived in Austin.
I live in Austin. I have line of sight to all of the antennas. I've tried a Mohu Leaf. I've tried all these others. It is not an uncommon problem for people to struggle to get their DTV signals. That was one of the things when they did the auction. So when they converted the digital, the analog television signals to digital, and then used that spectrum, actually, it became I think it's a 700 megahertz spectrum for LTE networks. That was one of the things, is it was going to reduce the range for some shows for some people. And I just happened to be in, actually all of my houses have been in this like bad area.
So you're in the digital cliff area where, unlike analog, which degrades, digital just either works or doesn't work. And there is this area, it's this margin where you could get analog signals, not maybe the perfect signals, but signals, and you can't get digital at all. But that's kind of shocking.
No, I mean it's always been super frustrating for me because
but it just shows
I've been a cord cutter since 2007.
People don't do over the air anymore. Now,
Leo, when was the last time you watched over the air TV through an antenna? How many years has it been?
Oh my God. A long time.
Yeah, same here.
I can't remember. Rabbit ears? It's 20 years probably.
At least,
it's been a long time. And we in Petaluma, where I've lived for more than 20 years, we can't get locals except for Channel 50, which is kind of silly. You just even the name Channel 50 should tell you something.
You know.
But because we can't get the San Francisco stations. But nowadays, I don't have to have cable as long as I have data, because I can use YouTube TV or I like YouTube TV. I can watch all the locals. Lisa watches the football games on YouTube TV, even though we don't have any access here in the studio. So as long as you have data. But yeah, I think the best deal in the world is over-the-air high-def television. That's great.
So I'm making starting a list of things that we just don't need anymore that have other significance behind them. So rabbit ears is one. The phone booth is one. Yep. The phone itself. The tape recorder.
This is going to be a long list, and but what's weird is how it's adding. There's new stuff adding all the time to this list.
You have any to throw at me?
I thought the other day I was talking about this on the radio show, but I don't remember.
House keys.
House keys. She doesn't even use house keys. She's so modern.
I actually use house keys, but many people do not.
I don't have a car key anymore. I have a fob.
Okay, dude, you should actually keep your key, because sometimes you'll park places.
No, they don't. They don't have key. Teslas. You have a key?
Well, I have a radio fob thing. Yeah.
I don't call it a key.
So I call that my keys.
Oh yeah.
That's my keys. The Tesla key.
Fax machine.
I know it's
fax machine. I think it goes to nothing.
No. I use a fax machine just the other day. You have to use a fax machine to
for legal.
Legal stuff and FOIA requests, because they want to charge you to print the papers.
Right. How about a radio?
I have a radio, but it's more in case of disaster,
radio.
Right? You actually wake up to a clock radio?
Yeah. Sometimes I wake up if it's
morning,
just me.
It's WXXX Austin. Wake up, Austin.
My whole childhood, I had a clock radio that would come on with WCBS.
I like the
news
variety.
radio in New York, and it's funny because, I remember RFK's assassination. That waking up and hearing that on my clock radio, I had that for years. I kind of missed that actually.
What made it started this? I wrote a post on Medium a couple years ago about the death of Control S.
For save,
right?
Nobody saves anymore.
Nobody saves anymore. You don't need to save anymore.
Hit that all the time.
This notion of constantly saving, right? So I wrote that thing, and I thought of others.
That's great.
You
can go
any other objects of change?
Oh God, yeah, CDs.
Yeah, CDs.
In fact,
records,
physical
discs,
media of all kinds.
Physical media,
except, interestingly, books. I think we thought...
And Polaroids. Those are back.
They're back, I know. Especially among parents of younger children.
Yeah.
We thought that... Didn't we think that ebooks would completely replace printed books by now?
What? Oh.
And in fact, it's quite the opposite.
Look behind me.
Kindles are gone. And everybody has books again.
No, I love my Kindle.
Really?
I have to buy a Kindle every year or every few months because I leave them on planes.
Which one do you have,
but I love
Stacey?
them. I have the Paperwhite.
I like the Paperwhite. I have the Oasis, the very expensive new one.
Oh,
is it worth the extra?
I rarely use it. No. Well, I don't know. I got it because of the high resolution, right? And it's a faster page turn. It's got a faster processor. I never liked that slow page turn animation. That always kind of bugged me.
So here's
you can turn it off.
Old remote controls are called clickers because they used to click.
They did. Some of them would actually, it sounded like they're sighing. They go.
So how did they communicate? How did the clicker communicate with the TV?
Sound, I think.
With sound.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a sound cue. It was like the clapper.
So you actually still have sound cues with certain IoT devices to connect them to your network. It's for authentication purposes.
Oh, yes.
They call it the chirp.
But they're usually inaudible, right? In fact, Google invented that with a Chromecast, I think.
Maybe. But you also have it still with alarm systems. Old school alarm systems use sound to indicate.
The Helm.
They use dial tones.
Actually, Helm doesn't use sound, but it uses Bluetooth LE to authenticate your phone. You can't put a Helm set up the Helm unless you can bring your phone next to it, which is actually a clever authentication.
There's a lot of those. Okay, I have to leave.
Go fill your empty tummy, Stacey Higginbotham.
I have an appointment I've got to get to.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you guys. I almost did the automatic I love you. But that's for my husband, not y'all.
We all love each other. We do.
Yes. All right.
It's all
Cheers,
theater.
I love you.
Cheers.
Bye, Stacey.
Hey.
Bye. Thank you, Jeff. We do This Week in Google every Wednesday with Jeff Jarvis. He's a professor of journalism. Well, he's really the Leonard Tao Professor for Journalistic Innovation, actually, at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. Blogger at buzzmachine.com. Author of many a fine book, including What Would Google Do? When is your new book coming out?
I'm still thinking about it. I have whiteboards filled with notes.
I think
I have
it should be named
filled with books.
Moral Panic.
I was thinking about a book. I think the third book in my list is a Technopanic book. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Stacey. We do Twig This Week in Google every Wednesday, 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern, 21:30 UTC. You can watch us do it live, twit.tv/live. Audio and video streams are there. If you do that, join the kids watching live in the chat room at irc.twit.tv. But I know you have a busy life. Maybe you want to watch at your leisure. Well, you could do that too. All of the shows we do really are on demand, available for you, audio and video, at our website, twit.tv. In the case of This Week in Google, it's twit.tv/twig. You'll also find a subscribe button there that'll help you subscribe in your favorite podcast application. Or, honestly, just open the application, search for Twig, and if you subscribe, you'll have it ready for listening the minute it's available. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time on This Week in Google. Bye-bye.